It's 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Before we start, let's take a moment and each ask for direction in the decisions we've got to make tonight, each in our own way. Thank you. Roll call.
Ken Talbot,
Here.
Alan Easley,
Here.
Leon Griffith,
Leon called. He's under the weather and will not make it tonight.
Helen Glass,
Here.
Jay Craddock,
Here.
Ronald Merrick,
Yeah.
Carol Yeaman.
Here.
Okay. In your packet, you have the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda before we proceed? If not, you'll hear we approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Moved. Second. All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Also, you have the minutes of the meeting of September the 11th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion that they be approved as written.
So moved.
So moved.
Moved and second. All in favor of approving the minutes, signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Old business?
I don't have any, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And new business?
No cases for next month,
None.
unless I can find one.
Okay. All right, and no chairman's report. So we'll proceed to the public hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to Article 5, Division 7 of the Pittsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, we, the Board of Zoning Appeals, have been empowered to hear and decide specific applications and appeals in support of said ordinance. In accomplishing this important task, we're charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Pittsylvania County. We must ensure that all our decisions and recommendations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pittsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Anyone here to address the board other than the applicant regarding zoning cases will be limited to 3 minutes. So the public hearing in case S-18-010 is now open. The time is 7:03. Report.
Case S-18-010, Gary and Gail Oaks has petitioned to petition for a special use permit on 171 acres located on Irish Road in the Tunstall Election District for a solar facility. The Planning Commission, with no opposition, recommended granting the petitioner's request with the proffer submitted and a condition that Section 35-121 of the zoning ordinance be followed. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, the representatives of Turning Point Energy and Mr. Oaks, Gary Oaks, is here to represent the petition.
All right, and 35-141, would you refresh our memory?
35-121.
121.
It's based on the fencing. It has to be screened fencing and the
Okay.
buffers as far as trees.
All right, so that's a proposed condition by the Planning Commission, so.
Yeah.
All right, who's representing the applicant?
I'm Gary Oaks. I'm a landowner, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Uhas and Adam. They can give y'all all the details. And here she is.
Thank you. We're here this evening to request the approval of a special use permit to build a 10 megawatt solar energy project encompassing approximately 75 acres on the property that Mr. Oaks owns, a total parcel of 171 acres, as Mrs. Hayes explained. And on behalf of the electricity will be sold to Danville Utilities. And we have held a community meeting ahead of time. We were very proactive this summer in reaching out to all of the adjacent neighbors so that to introduce ourselves to let them know about the project, to see if they had any questions, to see if they would have any opposition. And got a very warm, welcoming reception, and everyone has been so nice and been so welcoming and rather interested in the project. Those people that I didn't talk to in person, I did leave letters. You know, I called first, but then I did leave letters with them that if they had any questions, they could certainly call me. And then we held a community meeting on October 24th at the Dry Fork Volunteer Fire Department. Again, to solicit any input from the neighbors or community members to see if they had any questions or concerns about the project. And there were none. There were some there were some questions by some adjacent neighbors about, you know, what would they likely see, what would their view be. I believe that you probably have maps of different things in of different views in your packages, and I think we were able to explain how the panels would be set back off the road a considerable distance, that it would not impact their view. And then Mr. Oakes was kind enough to meet with them personally the next day and provide them with an overview, again, a more closer up picture, so that they could kind of get perspective of what it's going to look like once it's built. And so with that, open to any questions that you might have for us, and we look forward to working in Pittsylvania County.
Okay, now are you the developer, or are you gonna operate it also?
We are the developer.
Okay, so, do you know who the operator will be yet, or?
Not yet this time.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant at this time?
Who, as the developer, will you be responsible for the maintenance, looking after the, once it's up and running, who will be looking after it?
Typically, the ultimate project operator and the engineering, procurement, and construction contractor typically will also have responsibility for the operation and maintenance of the project, for the life of the project.
Any others? Okay, we may have some questions before we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
The book? So, no one signed up? All right, is there anyone that would like to address the board before we close the public hearing? If not, we'll close the hearing. The time is 7:08. Okay, special use. Our job is to identify any adverse effects upon adjoining properties, consider any ways in which those adverse effects might be mitigated. If there are no effects that cannot be mitigated, then we're obligated not to issue the permit. If adverse effects that can be mitigated, then we're obligated to issue the permit. So, what are the adverse effects that might be imposed on adjoining property owners? None? We did have a recommendation that we require compliance with section 35-121 of the zoning ordinance regarding screening, setback and screening. Let me ask the applicant, have you reviewed that particular part of the ordinance, and can you accept that condition?
Yes, sir. And we have provided a proper setback.
Okay.
And I'll just add that I own the land that will be all the way around it.
That's right.
So the solar property will not join anybody else. Will be buffered all the way around.
Okay.
I think I remember reading that, but it's a natural buffer right now, but you're gonna fence it and put, plant buffers around the fence line? Or you're gonna use the natural existing trees?
There will be a fence in addition to the natural buffer.
Will there be trees around 3 sides of it?
So say you don't own that land anymore and somebody goes in and cuts all the trees, then you'll have exposure to the fence? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, later on, if your trees are cut, it will be.
So sure we have
But,
plans already around.
Yeah, I think that's what, erosion sedimentation, which is required, anyway, landscape plan, including, appropriate vegetative buffering. We could expand on that, because the term appropriate is,
I think we should, my recommendation would be we direct what's appropriate. And I say that, I'm not opposed to the farm, but, on a road down today, I rode back by the Dan River solar farm that's down there, and there's a tree planted every 10 feet. It'll be 30 years before those trees cover that farm. And if they're planted 2 or 3 deep, they're what?
More like bushes.
Well, yeah, I never did exactly understand that. They planted some trees and then some bushes, and it's gonna take a long time for those to grow up.
and, I'll just add, on,
does anybody have a question? I'm sorry, sir, we've got all the input, unless somebody has a specific question, I think we've got. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? So as far as adverse effects, the only one that we can identify might be the site, and that would be mitigated by fencing and vegetative buffering. And what we'll do, we'll read these conditions into the motion. Okay? So, a positive motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whereas Gary and Gail Oaks have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a solar energy facility, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, I move the special use permit be granted with the following conditions. And these are the conditions proffered. We'll alter one of them. An operation and maintenance plan will be submitted. An erosion and sediment control plan will be submitted. A landscape plan will be submitted, including fencing and vegetative buffering. And a vegetative management plan will be submitted detailing ground cover and vegetative buffer maintenance. And a decommissioning plan will be submitted. So with those conditions, do we need to be any more explicit, or do you want to? I'm not a horticulturist, I don't know what to specify as far as trees and, do we need to provide any more level of detail than that?
I think that said it to me.
Okay. All right, so that would be the motion.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion, is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out, and good luck with your project. Okay. Case S-18-011, public hearing is now open. The time is 7:14. Report.
Case S-18-011 Danville Farm LLC has petitioned for a special use permit on a total of 185 acres located on Ringgold Road and Tom Fork Road in the Dan River Election District for a solar energy facility. The Planning Commission, with no opposition, recommended granting the petitioner's request with the conditions as stated in the proffer, and they're in the packet. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, the representatives of Strata Solar are here to represent the petition.
Sir, would you like to say something in support of the application?
Yes, sir. It's nice to be back here. I'm Tom Terrell. I'm legal counsel to Strata Solar. Some of you may know Strata is the premier renewable energy company in the southeast United States, and is one of the premier companies that is developing renewable, safe, clean energy across this country. This is a really wonderful site. We're glad to present it to you tonight. It has been without objection or controversy with the Planning Commission. It's been without objection or controversy with the Board of Supervisors as we went through basically a down zoning for this. It has been supported by your Utility Commission, and perhaps most importantly, it is supported by the neighbors who we have been in very active communication with, both in separate phone calls, but certainly in a very widely announced meeting that we invited folks to. And it was held in the golf course clubhouse on site so that it was very convenient to everybody. On the issue of whether or not we comport with the comprehensive plan, that decision for the most part was made by your Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors when we went through the rezoning process to convert this to A1 zoning. But we do have a landscaping plan, and there are other matters related to the harmony of this particular solar farm to the western side that does have residential neighbors. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Louis Ione, who has, I want to say Louis has worked on the development of more solar farms probably than anybody in the country. And he will show you what we're planning. And with respect to the landscape plan, when we come to the end, Mr. Chair, we're going to actually ask you to impose these as conditions, the very specific items we're handing out. Louis?
Thank you, Tom. Pass something out. This is an idea. Brent Neiman will speak in a minute. This was his idea. Pass it around, please. This shows our engineered site plan. It also has overlaid a maintenance plan, and the different shadings represent different maintenance requirements. Virtually the only concern we heard during the community meeting that Tom mentioned was what were we going to do with this? It's at least 400 feet. It ranges from 400 to 500 to 700 feet between the back line of the lots, as you can see, that are on Ringgold Road, which is where the vast majority of the neighbors are, and the start of the project, which is 400 to 500 feet away. So those very dark green dots are existing trees. There's quite a, if y'all have, I don't know if how many of y'all have been into the golf club, but basically what we told the neighbors was, so we were having barbecue in the community, or in the golf club, clubhouse, stand out a window, and we had these plans standing up, and we said, look down the back of the parking lot. That's the edge of the project. And I mean, I honestly got reactions such as, well, shoot, we'll never see that. Because it's so far away from their houses, and there's so much topography and existing big trees, which we propose to maintain. But especially this one older gentleman had a question about what were we going to do with this area immediately adjacent to his lot line, and I think he lives somewhere in here. So Brett had the thought of shading our site plan to demonstrate different levels of maintenance, and this medium colored green here basically will be a mowed yard, and it's a minimum of 100 feet. So that answered really the only concern that I had, because everybody could see that the project is way away from them. There's a lot of trees in between the project, and then as you can see back here, doubt that anything will ever be developed. You know, it can't be. This is a creek. Bunch of tiny lots here. I'm not sure we'll build a field, but if we do, it's well buffered. The project there's topography here. So the real concern for these neighbors, and a lot of them, and well-placed concern it was, those are nice, well-maintained homes, and good neighbors. And so that's why we initially designed the project to be so far set back. I permitted, I think, 75 of these for Strata. This is one of the 3 most concealed projects, I would say, that I've worked on. Not the most, but it's pretty close to the most concealed project I've worked on. So the solution was we would like for this to be a condition of our permit, this plan. So we fold that up and put it with the permit, and that's a condition that we do what this drawing says. So they seem very happy with that. Anybody had a question about that? So just to kind of briefly go through the SUP requirements in the order in your, I used the brochure as a guide. Mr. Terrell's already spoken to the compliance with the zoning district and comprehensive plan. I've been talking about harmony. Basically, there's a very large buffer. Project is very well screened. We had a community meeting, as Mr. Terrell said, is very well announced. It's been reported in newspapers several times. Very well received project. You know about solar farms. They're clean, they're safe, they're quiet at night, they're dark at night, they're quiet. And we proposed this maintenance plan that you have in front of you as a condition. So with that, if you have any questions about those issues, I'm going to turn it over to Tom Hester, who is an MAI appraiser, and Brent Neiman, PE, and they will speak to the no adverse impacts. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Tom Hester. I'm a real estate appraiser. Offices in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've done most of my work in Raleigh. I'm now, though, a state certified appraiser in Virginia. And I think it looks like the real estate markets work pretty similar in these 2 states, so I feel like I've got some experience to share with you. I have looked at this particular site. I've looked at the other existing, or another existing project that's nearby, see sort of how they compare. I've also looked at about 40 or 50 other existing, already built solar farms to see how they fit in the neighborhood and how the neighbors tend to react, how the property values tend to react. I've used in each county, I've looked at GIS information to look at transactions of properties that take place before the project is built and then after it's built, and also close to the project, further away from the project, and looking at the data in that way. I found no evidence that there's any effect on property values caused by these projects. Now, as an appraiser, I'm always looking at comps. I'm always looking at sales and why a property sells for more or less. And in terms of neighbors, I'm looking at is there traffic, is there light, is there noise, dust, odor, and then what does it look like? And for solar farms, none of those come into play, except what does it look like? And this project is set well back from the road. It's very well screened. I don't really think it's going to be visible from the neighbors. The evidence shows that even if it were visible, it wouldn't affect the property values. But if it's not visible, then I see that there could be no effect on the nearby property values. So it's my conclusion that the project will not have any negative effect on property values, and that it will be in harmony with the neighborhood. I have done a report just looking at this project, and then I'm presenting some evidence of some other projects that I've looked at. I'd like to share those with you. I'd be glad to answer any questions about methodology or about values or about other projects.
We've been doing this for 27 years. And everybody talks about property values, but I think this is the first time we've actually had a professional presentation to
Okay,
assess the actual impact.
okay. Well, I think that's good, so.
I think it's good too.
I'm glad to help. I think that you know, one of the keys to appraisal or real estate analysis is the technique, and then the other key is the data. But I think the technique of looking at sort of the before and after, both the values before and the value after, that's kind of a standard appraisal technique. It's the technique that appraisers use when they're doing work for the Department of Transportation. They look at the transactions before a project and then transactions after a project. That's the standard way to analyze the effects of a proposed project. That's basically what this report is looking at.
Well, I look forward to reading this. I don't think we'll do it tonight. but-
Okay. Very, very good. And if you come up with any questions, be glad to help.
Good evening. My name is Brent Neiman.
Are you the golfer?
I did do a site visit,
I was expecting a line of golfers after.
and what better way to do a site visit here than play around the golf? I did lose my sand wedge out there, though, unfortunately. I'm the Director of Civil Engineering for Strata Solar. I've been working on utility scale solar facilities for about 6 years now, a little over 6 years now. I did help prepare the site plan that was submitted. And I can confirm it's in compliance with your ordinance. We've met all the building setbacks. As the team has spoke to, we've greatly increased the distance setback from adjoining neighbors. Highlighted in the plan as well as the maintained turf area. There's another shade in there that's a pollinator planting. We've been planting that on a lot of our facilities and in areas not necessarily within the array, because it tends to grow to a height that could shade the panels at its optimal height. But in areas that are part of the project, we're trying to be attract some pollinators. So we've got a horticulturalist on site that works very hard to pick plants that are suited for various areas. So we've been working very diligent on that. There's some good videos on our website, actually, she's put together on it. It's pretty good. We'll also maintain the existing vegetation. That's the darker trees that you see there that are highlighted, the larger vegetation that will provide the screening for the facility. There are a couple of places where we're adding supplemental vegetation, where we felt the view shed was not blocked. There's a detail on our plan that shows what we're proposing to plant. It's a staggered double row of evergreens, and we're proposing that they would be 6 foot tall at the time of planting. So there is some size to those particular plants. This is a very clean project. There's no hazardous materials used. The equipment that does make noise during the day is central to the site, so it is not audible outside of the facility. We don't have any water usage, no sewer usage. We are a very low traffic volume as a permanent use. We generate far less traffic than an average single-family home because the facility is monitored remotely. So we come for scheduled maintenance and for any necessary repairs. And quite frankly, the most frequent visit is for vegetation maintenance. This site is a tracker system, so the panels are oriented north to south, and they follow the sun throughout the day. It increases production on the facility, approximately 30% versus a fixed tilt system. So this is a pretty state-of-the-art project. We're happy to be here. We've done a lot of projects in Virginia. We have a lot of Virginia experience. So we're very familiar with the soil erosion sediment control process, as well as DEQ stormwater review process. So, and I should mention the permit by rule process as well, which we'll be undertaking as well. Strata will be we're the EPC contractor and owner and operator of the facility. And we also will be selling our power to Danville Utilities.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions you have
These
about the
little,
site plan.
these little black spots, those are the inverters?
Yes, sir. Those are representative of what inverter positioning would look like.
Okay, so they may not be.
There is the variable here really is equipment. So we don't manufacture equipment; we purchase equipment. So panel strength can vary quite a bit.
And
depending
the
on
terrain
manufacturers.
varies quite a bit out there.
It
So
does.
what would the highest elevation of a panel be above the ground?
So the typical tracker rack, the top of the torque tube, the pivot tube, is generally anywhere from 5 to 7 feet. It's kind of our standard. 4 to 7 feet. It's kind of our standard design. This site has, as you said, it does have some undulating topography, so there will be where the greens are built up sharply. There will be some grading that'll be necessary. So I think we stayed on the site plan. I can't remember the exact. There's a detail. I don't want to misquote it. I think we say a maximum of 15 feet.
Okay.
That's very hard to construct. So
Yeah.
that's more of a standard. Anything over 9 feet gets pretty difficult to construct. It's a lot of ladder construction there.
And what is this cart path?
The one that's identified on the plan?
Yeah.
I believe that's an existing feature, and it was
Oh,
more
okay.
to demark the area more than anything else.
Golf cart.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Well,
was
facilities like this, especially if it's not manned, there's always the problem of creating an attractive nuisance that kids or four-wheelers or, so is an existing feature that may or that probably won't exist in the,
And honestly, I haven't even thought about the disposition of that cart path being outside of the facility. The facility is secured with a security fence.
well, the residents of this county know, like, power lines with mud holes that Billy Bob on the weekend, he loves to go drive his four-wheel drive through it. But it's amazing what becomes a public nuisance after a little while.
Understood. I think actually because it's so far back from the road, it probably makes sense for us to have a gate at the road just to prevent the passerby from driving in and turning around. I think that probably behooves us more than anything else.
Okay?
Thanks for having us.
Chairman, that concludes our presentation. I would like to clarify two things. One, the trees that are going to be planted as shown on this site plan is, as the supplemental vegetation will be 6 feet apart post to post. So that they're not going to be a 10-foot type of distance. And then second, Strata is quite used to saying, if we're going to tell you we do it, we'll put it in writing. And this is what Strata's doing. They're putting it in writing, and we invite you, you don't have to, but we certainly invite you to take this landscaping plan and to impose that as a condition on the special use permit. If there are no other questions, then we'll conclude.
Based upon your experience at other sites, is interference to electrical devices, is that an issue?
No. It's never been a
So the inverters don't generate RFI and?
No, the electromagnetic field, I'm stepping into Brent's shoes here, but the electromagnetic field at the edge of the facility is about what you would have standing in front of your refrigerator or something very minimal like that. Is that
Okay.
it's negligible and it's not an issue.
That's not exactly what I was addressing, but if you're familiar with power lines, like a loose connection on a pole can generate interference to radios and TVs for half a
Brent,
mile.
why don't you address that? This is not something that is an issue, but
I was just curious how you, if that has become an issue in other locations, or?
I have not ever heard that concern. We have had EMF questions, and certainly at inverters the EMF is larger, but it is also at distribution electric lines as well. But I have not heard that concern before. We've had questions about adjoiners that operate radio towers asking if any communications on our site, because
Right.
some of the inverters can talk via wireless signal. We typically use fiber.
Yeah.
But I haven't had that particular question.
Okay.
I've got one question, it may seem silly, but, you know, I know it's fenced, but say a kid, you know, fences or something, kids love to climb over. What is the danger to a person if they got inside?
There's
of the
really
zone?
no danger to anyone. You know, all of the major connections are inside cabinets, and we bury all of the wire except for the interconnection to the grid. You know, even disconnecting modules is not inherently dangerous, and particularly if it's at night, there's nothing's on.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the applicant? All right, if not, we'll close the hearing at 7:36. Anyone sign up? No one signed up. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address the board? And now I'll close the hearing at 7:36. Okay. Okay. Similar adverse effects. You've got the proffer of conditions that I think address any. We'll read the proffers in as conditions. So, negative motion, positive motion.
Positive.
All right. So the positive motion would read, whereas Danville Farm LLC has petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit for a solar energy facility, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, I move the special use permit be granted with the following conditions. An operation and maintenance plan will be submitted, an erosion and sedimentation control plan will be submitted, a landscape plan will be submitted, including fencing and vegetative buffers. A decommissioning plan and bond will be submitted. And the applicant will follow the guidelines of the ordinance, section 35-121, buffers and fencing.
Did that include this plan in there? Is that specifically?
It's a good idea. They
Okay, let's see.
profit it, offered it.
I think that's good. It wouldn't hurt to have a gate on it, but I don't know if we got it.
Well, they're gonna have a gate to get in.
I'm talking
Oh,
about
at the road?
Gate out here too, in this area. He mentioned
Yeah.
gating it, and we might want to.
Let's see. Well, we've got a landscape plan will be submitted, including fencing and vegetative buffers. Is that plan? Or you want to reference this
I would be
separately?
specific as presented to the board.
Vegetative buffers, okay, as presented.
Know what it is. And this should be part of the.
As presented, there's no exhibit number as presented, in, color exhibit. Now, the access road shall be gated.
And that would help protect the property owners.
Shall be gated. All right, so, a landscape plan will be submitted, including fencing and vegetative buffers as presented in the color exhibit, okay? And then the access road shall be gated.
I'll make that motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thanks for the reading material.
Very well presented.
Yep.
A lot of numbers now about the air quality.
And no golfers. Thank you. Okay. Okay, the public hearing in case S-18-012 is now open. The time is 7:39. Report?
Case S18012, Zachary Turner and others have petitioned for a special use permit on a total of 58.82 acres located on Birch Creek Road in the Dan River Election District for recreational uses. There were conditions imposed on the special use permit for the recreational use that was done back in 2016, case S16008. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Turner is here to represent the petition. This will be a year-round event. He wants to do things for Christmas, like lighting, and Valentine's in the spring, the summer, so he wants to do it
Are
year-round.
you presenting, or is he gonna present?
No, that was part of the application.
She's
Nice to
doing a
see you
good
again.
job. We should have just let her do it then. Come on. How
I
y'all
drove-
doing?
I drove out there. You've really purchased a lot of gravel and done a
Oh,
lot
man,
of
we
grading. It
probably-
looks nice.
We put in over 40 tons this past Halloween season,
Yeah.
and it doesn't even look like it. Pretty much we were here basically for our Christmas show, of course. We want to do a Christmas show this year. We want to open November 30th. It's going to be from 6 to 9. It's going to be just a kid-friendly. We'll eventually put a hayride in this year. It'll just be a walkthrough. It'll be a bunch of lights, a ton of lights actually. Very nice, I think, for the community, for the county. It would definitely, there's no other one around here, I will have to say.
Oh, you mean
But-
Christmas lights or illumination?
Christmas lights. We'll
Okay.
do illumination, a little bit of everything really. We'll have all kinds of stuff. So,
Okay.
I think I remember you saying something you liked Christmas before, so, one of
Lighting's an issue. Light pollution is becoming a big issue in the county, and but these are lights that would go on and then you would turn them off when.
yes, when
Okay.
we're, yeah.
Yeah.
These are just Christmas lights, LED
Yeah.
lights, really. We use a lot of LED Christmas lights, but
Yeah.
yeah, they go off at 9 o'clock, and then actually we'll take them down every year.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing is, of course, like Valentine's Day, we might want to do something for there. Easter, we might want to do something for Easter. Easter egg hunt on the farm. We do want to move forward in doing a lot of fall activities with pumpkin patches, corn maze. We really want to integrate stuff on the farm and start moving forward with that, like daytime laser tag, start doing, trying to do field trips with kids. We really want to do a lot of stuff. So, and the hunt stuff, I mean, I would like to be able to have the dates and times lifted that we have.
Okay, we'll get to the specifics in
Okay.
a second. So what you want is you want the existing special use permit for a recreation facility, the conditions to be relaxed. All right, and now, so what are those conditions?
I just would like to have all the times and dates on the hunt gone on there. With that being said, 10:30 it's hard for us because we have like Friday night football games that go on, and these kids are trying to get there quick, trying to do things, and it's hard. We always will close at 11 p.m. really. I mean, we won't always close our ticket booth. If it's moved to 11 p.m., that'll be our final. On that. And then I know one of them's till 1 o'clock in the morning. Yes, our ticket booth's closed, but we have so many people still there. We're trying to get them through, and this year it was rough trying to push that many people through at 12:30 at night, trying to make the deadline at 1 o'clock. So we were just trying to push them through real.
Okay, so the operating hours,
I wish we could just lift all of those off, if possible.
Lift as in do away with them?
Yes. We don't have before when we did it, we had a neighbor issue, and that was to appease him. Well, he has moved on. He has moved, and we have new neighbors, and they're great, and I've spoken to people, so.
okay. So dates, days of week, how many, which days? All 7 or?
No, we will not open during the week like that. We will still open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But
If you do school groups, you don't have to be open during the week, daytime.
yeah, as far as the Halloween stuff goes, we won't do school groups for it. We'll do school groups only on the fall activities, on the corn maze and pumpkin patch and stuff.
So what's the latest you could live with as far as, we could do it 2 ways. We could say, okay, no ticket sales after this hour.
11 p.m. be great. If we could just,
but then not put a limit on what time everybody's gotta be out?
Yes, that would be great. We always usually close anyway at 11:30, 12. I mean, it's just these busy nights. When we get into the 2 weekends, it's hard to say when it is, because like this year, it throws us off a little bit due to the rain and the weather and stuff, and we had a different times on, different busy nights than we normally do. And when we get really busy and really slammed, it's hard for us to push all those people through by 1 o'clock sometimes. But there's no guarantee what night that could be. So that's why I wanted to get it lifted.
All right, so, the date limitation removed, the ticket sales, extended to 11 PM, the, shutdown, closure,
At 11. And we will
Time.
always close our ticket booth too, just to note in there. You can still leave the Thursdays and Sundays 9:30, because we always close during the week, or like a weeknight like that. We always close at 9:30. That was in there. I think it was, we had Thursdays and Sundays, it was 9:30, and I think everybody had to be out by, I wanted to say 11:30.
so 9:30, except for Friday and Saturday, ticket sales go to 11. And forget about the,
The time.
the exit.
Yeah.
And just trust that
And moving these hours back like that is good for us, because like this year, we opened an hour late one night because of the rain. We had a rain shower come through about 5 or 6, and we knew it was coming, but we still was able to open, but it was an hour late. And if we'd have been nice to be able to leave that ticket booth open a little bit longer also, due to opening later.
Okay. And any other of the conditions, because we're gonna address these conditions specifically, and I don't have a list of them in front of me. This is the existing one?
And it would be nice to be able to open
Okay.
during the week also, because sometimes Halloween, like this year, it would fall on a Wednesday, and we could open, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but I mean, it might be a Tuesday on Halloween, and we would like to be able to maybe open through the rest of that week.
Well, I'm not enthusiastic about, when you first came here, you were totally unknown. Now we go out there, we can see what you've done and see what, so I'm not enthusiastic about making this overly complicated.
Right.
Change the 4 full weekends, Thursday, Sunday, through 9:30.
So, I mean, if we go to changing things, are we going to open it up to him doing it anytime he wants to, whatever season, or?
I don't know, are we?
I don't
No,
know. That's,
honestly, it's like any other business. You don't restrict the business to how they can operate. If somebody wants to operate, if you had like the boat, if you want to operate from midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, you could, right? I mean, nobody says you couldn't, but I'm looking at it that way. Honestly, I think they got enough common sense to know when late is late and when they need to quit, and they will do that. And if we try to say, well, you can do certain hours for this event, certain hours for this, you're right, that is getting to me in the weeds, and I don't think we need to be in the weeds.
I guess too, if they stayed open too late and ran too long, the police would.
We have the sheriffs out there every night.
Right.
Yes.
But, I mean, you would get contacted if the neighbors
Yes,
were.
if they do. If they do.
No. Neighbors
Then
decided it was-
Karen will get the calls from the
That's right,
neighbors.
that's right.
And then I'll get to go.
One question that comes to mind, tell me about your insurance. Tell us about your insurance that you carry.
We have a very good insurance. We have a big policy. My wife is the business side of that. She keeps up with all of that side, of course, but we have a very good insurance policy. We have a guy he's out of state, of course, but this is all he does. It's all events all across the United States. He was highly recommended by some other major haunted houses in the country, and that's who we went with, and we've been with him ever since.
Is it and I'll ask her.
more than welcome to talk to her
If you
about
would,
it.
if you'd come
Yes.
up, please, just to,
She could tell you more about that
Okay.
side of it.
is the insurance policy, is it an event policy or is it an annual policy?
It's an annual policy, that's for year-round. We also carry workman's comp for our actors, that are our paid staff, as well as we call them trainee staff. They're our volunteers, they fall under trainees. They're also covered under workman's comp. And then, like I was saying, for the patrons, we have is $100,000,
It's a $2 million policy, but then each person's individual policy, so.
right, so. But
That
Okay,
includes-
good.
That's general liability and property.
it is,
Mhm.
yes, sir.
And the workers' comp's a real good idea too. 'Cause
Carry year round.
Yes, sir,
you get to be in volunteer real quick and somebody gets hurt.
exactly.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. But yeah, I agree with not trying to overcomplicate things. We just want to be able to run like any other business. If we want to, like you said, have an Easter egg hunt, we're not talking about doing things in the very near future. This is going to be a long process, but in the future, we would like to be able to have something where kids can come and do field trips out there, have jumping pillows, do kids crafts, all kinds of things, but just use the farm in a very kid-centric, family, fun kind of attraction to the county. So,
I'm good.
Okay, is this what we're saying? That, yada, 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 whereas, yada. I move the special use permit be modified as follows. Days of operation are extended to year-round. Hours of operation are modified to limit ticket sales to before 9:30 PM Sunday to Thursday, 11 PM Friday and Saturday.
Is that okay with y'all?
yes, sir,
And
absolutely.
the Thursdays and Sundays, what did you have that down for?
9:30.
9:30?
9:30.
Yes.
Okay. We may have some questions before we're done. Thank you for your input. Anybody sign up?
Any questions on the fall or activities, anything we were talking about?
When
down
we
there?
say festival, recreation facility, use your imagination.
That's fine with me. Sounds good to me.
Well, and the way the application was worded, it's kind of broad anyway. There's no way that we or you consider and anticipate everything that you might want to do to turn it into a valuable asset to the county. And, okay.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We may have some before we're done. No one signed up. Is there anyone that would like to address the board before we close the public hearing? If not, we'll close the hearing at 7:53. Whew, okay. Actually, if all we're gonna do is modify a couple of conditions, it's a much simpler. So do you feel like, based on what you've heard, that we should entertain modifying the conditions? All right, so such a motion would read then, whereas Zachary Turner and others have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit to revise the existing conditions imposed on special use 3-18-006, parentheses, recreation facility, on July 12th, 2016, and whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, that the character of the zoning district will not be changed thereby, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, I move the special use permit be modified as follows. Days of operation are extended to year-round. Hours of operation are modified to limit ticket sales to before 9:30 PM Sunday to Thursday, 11 PM Friday and Saturday.
So
That's the motion.
moved. Oh, excuse me.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, would it be, should we say in all other conditions as listed be done away with? Because then they have
Right.
I think we need to clear up, make it clear that we're changing these
Okay.
two things, but
Right.
everything else is.
Everything else
going
would
away.
continue.
Okay.
I'm a little sick.
Other conditions of the original permit remain in place.
What?
He would say.
No, do away with it.
All the other conditions?
Yeah, that's what.
What was it?
Well, we had vegetative, buffer, I don't know, I don't have the list.
I can read them. It was changed to fourth. We went back and forth about what was considered the Halloween season. Then we
Yeah, but
got
those
in-
aren't all the conditions, are they?
Well, this is, revisions to the conditions attached,
Right.
but the, let's see, let's
As
see.
you, have you got that?
I just want to be sure we haven't forgotten.
Right, and I don't want to eliminate anything, any condition that they're not asking.
Well, here's the,
No, unfortunately, it's not.
it's not, is, no.
That's kind of ambiguous.
Okay.
I was more in mind about the hours and the times.
Mhm.
I want to make sure we've got that.
Right, we modify the days, we modify the times, but all the other conditions, vegetative barriers, et cetera, we want all that to remain in place. So it changed, relief termination, J 1130. No, this is the, no, this was,
Here's
yeah,
the,
S16, okay. Relief termination on 1130 from the current permit. So future buildings 300 square feet or less will not be required to come before the BZA. However, future buildings will be inspected by the building inspector, fire marshal, will require a building permit, will meet all building and fire codes. So see, all that needs to stay.
This needs to stay.
Plant additional vegetative border along the north fence, legal type, right? So, we could go through each of these again and, or we could simply say, we modify the days of operation, we modify the hours, and all the other conditions remain in place.
I just want to be sure that's covering what they need.
Yeah. All right, well, let's see, modify it as follows. The days of operation are extended to year-round, so that eliminates the Thursday, Friday, October, winter's Halloween, fall, whatever. Hours of operation modified to limit ticket sales to 9:30 PM, Sunday to Thursday, 11 PM, Friday and Saturday. Other conditions of the original permit remain in place. So buildings they gotta have inspected, they gotta plant some
that
borders.
was all they wanted to do was do it year-round and change the hours,
That's it.
or relax the hours.
All right, so did we have a motion or not?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second?
Just get them all. I'll second.
Yeah, you're young enough, you got to live with it, man.
No problem.
That'll be a record.
All right, one more time. Whereas Zach Return and others have petitioned the Board of Zoning Appeals for a special use permit to revise the existing conditions imposed on special use permit S 18-006, a recreation facility, July 2016. And whereas we find no substantial detriment to adjacent property, the character of the zoning district will not be changed, and that such use will be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance. I move the special use permit be modified as follows. Days of operation are extended to year-round. Hours of operation are modified to limit ticket sales to before 9:30 PM Sunday and Thursday, 11 PM Friday and Saturday. Other conditions of the original permit remain in place. Applicant okay? Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hands. Thank you. Thanks for coming out.